Hey, welcome to my final video of the World Cup season. Still here in Margalef, so I thought I'd pump out a few videos. So today I'm going to be going over the Koper World Cup, which feels a long time ago now, but it's always good to reflect. After the Olympics, it was such a weird time for me because it went from such high performance to almost a dead stop. I didn't really know what to do with myself, so I decided just to climb a few times a week, completely enjoy it. We went to Cyprus on holiday for a week. Which was really nice just to have some downtime. But after that, I was like, I still want to compete. I want to get climbing again. So I decided once I got back from Cyprus that I would be going to the Koper World Cup, which is quite funny because as I got back, the Koper World Cup was only in like 2 or 3 days. I knew with all the training that I did for the Olympics that my form wasn't just going to disappear in 3 weeks of holiday that I had. So when I got back from Cyprus, the Koper World Cup was only in 3 or 4 days. So I thought I'd see how I feel, and I went for a climbing session, and I didn't feel incredible, but I felt pretty good. So I was like, yeah, I want to go to Koper with no pressure and just enjoy my time at a World Cup without any pressure. It was a pretty typical World Cup. The coaching setup was the same. It was me, my dad, a couple of the GB coaches, Liam and Rachel, and we set off with the idea just to have a great time at a World Cup. One of my main reasons for going to the Koper World Cup is I just absolutely love the city or the place. It's a really nice place to be and just a perfect location for a World Cup. One of the Slovenian coaches, Luka, who owns Plus Climbing, put a huge amount of effort into getting this World Cup up and running, so big thanks to him. But we were there in Koper at qualifications time. I was really psyched, not feeling too much pressure at the minute, and yeah, warm-up time. There's a really good spray wall for warming up in Koper, so we got straight on that, and I'm not gonna lie, at this point, a few of the nerves started to creep in. I wasn't like nervous as in really high pressure. I just knew I hadn't been in a competition environment since the Olympics. I'd gone on holiday, so I wasn't sure how I was going to feel on the wall. It always feels a bit different in a competition. So I was warming up with that slightly in the back of my mind. That was it. I did my usual warm up and it was out for Route 1. On this qualification route, I was 4th up, and looking at the demoer, we get the videos the day before, he looked like he was struggling quite a lot on the move. So I was pretty nervous actually, but I did my usual warm up. I got out and it turns out I actually felt really good on the wall. As soon as I pulled on, I was confident. The nerves just went away and I climbed the route pretty well, I think, even though it was quite sketchy. There was a couple of rests in it, there was a big splits in the middle, and as you get into the big roof bit with the pockets, I did start to feel a bit of pump, but I feel I managed my way up it quite well. And towards the top, that's when the real sort of pump kicked in. That was the 3 weeks of holiday pump, that kicked in. I don't usually get that sort of pump, so at the top of there I was really having to fight. But I came off on the penultimate move, I think, so a pretty solid result in the qualification route, and it turns out that no one actually topped this route in the end, so a pretty savage qualification route. I got the joint high point on this route with five other people. The move at the top was really hard. It was a big throw to a crimp, and you had to have enough like juice in your forearm to hold it really, which I didn't, unfortunately. That was Route 1 done, and then usual waiting around, getting ready, preparing yourself for Route 2. Route 2 was the really power endurance-y route. This route was proper savage. There was no rests in it, slopey holds, and then into crimps. Just a really hard route. There was a move in the middle where you had to lock off really hard on the right hand, use an intermediate, and then bump again to a pretty good hold. I was actually feeling pretty good, so I skipped out the intermediate, which maybe wasn't the best idea, but I was feeling pretty good on this route and got into a good fighting mode at the top. No one topped this route, and it really like kicked up a few levels at the top. It was really savage. There was a move where you bump into an undercut, go left hand, you have to go left hand again on some dishes, and yeah, no one got it. I think Serato ended up having the high point, but a really hard qualification route. It's weird with some of these competitions. Sometimes you can have quite an easy qualies where everyone gets 2 tops, or you can have a super hard qualies where no one even gets a top. So you've got to prepare for all of that because you never know what you're going to get. Qualies were over. Serato qualified in 1st. I was in 2nd place, so a pretty good start to my competition, and it sort of got rid of all of those nerves that I was feeling about going on holiday for a couple of weeks. What I find, sometimes at the start of a competition I'm not feeling so good, but after I do the qualifications I get a really good pump on, and then I get to have a rest. I end up feeling way better. It's almost like I recruit into the competition, if that makes sense. This is completely unrelated, but I'm currently in Margalef and I'm having a very similar feeling on some long sport routes. The first couple of days it's almost like I'm acclimatizing, I'm doing all these long power endurance moves and I'm not feeling the best, and then have a rest day, come back, and then instantly my recovery is just so much better. And it really feels good at the moment to be working through those stages on outdoor climbs. That's got nothing to do with this competition, but I thought I'd mention it since I'm here and enjoying my time in Margalef. That was that, on to semi-finals. I was incredibly excited to go into semi-finals, and I can tell you now, the route was absolutely savage. The route started with quite a lot of slopers actually, and wrestling through a couple of volumes. There was quite a hard move where you had to have a big right hand sloper, get a left heel, you had to guppy a volume, really push yourself up and then go into the next hold. It was quite a strange sequence. This move was really about rocking over the left heel and really trusting it and not trying to pull too hard. Once you've got through the white section, this is where the route really kicks in. On the yellow crimps, it starts to get proper hard. There was quite a big crux in this route. It was a rose move off the left hand, and this move was really far. This one rose move took so many people out of the semi-final, it was crazy. Almost if you did this move, then you would be in finals. Once you'd done the rose move and then unraveled, it still was pretty hard because you'd really look off and then bump again over a volume. And the crimps were really slopey, so you couldn't get much off of them. And then once you were up through the crimps, then you're into the massive big slopers. I remember trying to wrestle through these, and it really boxed me out. As I pulled onto the head wall, I do remember getting a lot of recovery. I remember feeling really good. So I remember turning around to the crowd and then hyping them up again, which in hindsight wasn't the best idea, because as soon as I did that, I just got incredibly boxed. And I was like, oh gosh, why have you done that? This is gonna be embarrassing. And then I fell off the subsequent move. But the head wall was really hard, and this was probably one of the hardest semi-final routes I've done. Perhaps I shouldn't have gone to Cyprus. I'm just joking, it was great to compete at this competition. That was the semi-finals done. I ended up in second place, just one move behind Sorato, and looking forward to finals. This was one of the competitions where the qualifiers and semi-finals were on the same day, and that was the Friday, and then the finals were on its own on the Saturday. It was a pretty chilled day on the Saturday, just chilling out, going to a few cafes, and finals were in the evening. Slowly, the time came and we headed to the wall. Because the routes are up at the stadium before, everyone sort of goes there before and reads the route. It's just a sort of known thing. So I was there reading it with my coach, as everyone else was, and the route looked really good. I was really excited. I will say it most times, but I really prefer strict isolation. I know it's quite hard because it's hard to cover a whole lead wall, but I think it's so much better when no one can see the route before and it's just strict 6 minutes observation, no help from the coaches. I much prefer that. But as long as it's a level playing field and everyone can look at the route before, then I think it's okay. So as long as that's transparent, it's completely fine, I think. Into the final route, and this route had a couple of showy moves. The first one was actually the first move, which I'm not a big fan of. I was a bit nervous before. It's like a run into a volume, but as soon as I got there, it was so easy, so I didn't even need to worry about it. The first tricky move on this was quite low down. There were a couple of ways of doing it. You could put up a left heel and lock off and go more static, or you could put in a left toe and almost cut as you go for the hold. I went for the toe option, and then it was pretty steady, but I got it and took a bit of a cut loose, but there was a couple of people lost there. And then into the real showy move of the route. It was a big press down with the right hand and then into a left hand shoulder. There was a couple of different ways of doing that. I chose the method with the right hand push down, almost using a lot of your triceps and then going up the left hand. But there were a few different ways of doing it. But quite a strange move to have in a route, but I think it's good because it you you can see a lot of people try different things and it's quite cool to watch. After this, there was a couple of hard moves on some black crimps before you get into some big blue slopers, which was very tensiony and required quite a lot of squeezing. Going through these next few blue crimps, I really enjoyed these moves. There was a lot of really cool sequences which I really enjoyed. I remember being on the wall at this point thinking, wow, I actually just love this climb so far. I'm really feeling good. There was another highlight move which was off a right hand, left hand drop knee and a big move over the lip onto a blue crimp on the edge of a volume. This was a pretty big move and I was pretty psyched when I stuck it. Once I stuck that, it was then a big throw in with the right hand, which I think lost a couple of people. This move was really physical and you needed quite a lot of juice in your left arm still. Once you'd done that big move into the undercut, this was now the high point I think when I was climbing, and then you're into the black crimps, the Rock City crimps and volumes. This was by far my favorite part of the route. I was so psyched to climb on this bit. The moment I matched into one of the first Rock City volumes with some jibbed crimps on it, that's when the pump really started to kick in. That's when I went into proper fight mode. I've said it many times before, but this is my favorite part about lead climbing. This is my favorite part about competition climbing. Properly fighting on a head wall when you're absolutely done and really having to pull moves out of the bag, that's just my favorite part. And the top of this route was proper savage. I was really having to pull out moves. I was really tired. Every time I latched a new hold, I was like, oh, I might be off here. And then I managed to get a bit more rest on my other arm and grab the next hold, a bit more rest on my other arm. And it's just such a marginal balance. One tiny little mistake can mean you're off. But if you do that perfectly, then it means you could have multiple more moves. And the part when I was really done, I was in like this starfish position. I had my right toe on the massive white volume. I come into match and I missed the left hand jib and I was like, oh my God, I'm so done. And yeah, I just come off the wall there. I think if I maybe managed it a tiny bit better, I could have got the top. That's the hardest part about competition climbing. There's so many minute decisions you have to make, which if you make one wrong decision, then you'll be off the wall. It can be as little as if you get a hold and readjust your foot in a slightly wrong position, then you won't have enough juice in your arm to get the next hold. But if you had the foot in the right position, you can get the next hold, but that allows you to take a rest on your right arm. And then you can get a couple moves more. There's just so many decisions you have to make, and if you get them all perfectly, then the route can not feel so bad. But each of these mistakes adds up, and by the time you get onto the head wall, if you've made too many mistakes, then you simply just won't have enough endurance to top. I think it's safe to say that on this route, I found my limit. I was done by the time I came off. Once my route's done, I'm just a spectator like everyone else, so sitting on the stage watching Serato, I was happy with how I climbed, I was happy with how I did. And I was genuinely just interested to see how he did. I think it's always important to celebrate your wins, but you never want to celebrate someone else's loss. We're all there on level terms. We've all trained really hard to get into these positions. And yeah, I'm just genuinely happy. Some days I would take the win, some days he would take the win. And yeah, I'm happy either way. I just really love competition climbing, and I'm happy the community is so nice. That was Koper done. I was really happy with how this competition went. Winning a World Cup is obviously still, like, it just means so much to me, and it's by no means easy. The amount of training which has to go into these things is just insane, and everyone puts so much effort in. I'm just really happy that all of the work I put into the Olympics, I could just extend that a bit longer and then go to Koper and just completely enjoy it and still feel really good on the wall. After all the medal ceremonies and everything and standing on the podium, I don't think I'll ever get tired of standing on the podium and hearing the national anthem played. It just fills me with so much pride and happiness. So that moment's never going to get boring for me, I don't think. And I'll keep training my whole life to keep that going as long as possible. Once again, third place, after the World Cup had finished, it was quite funny, because after the Olympics I never truly got to celebrate. There was quite a lot of media. I got rushed about everywhere, but Koper had almost like a party-like vibe. I had quite a few friends there, and it was just a really nice time. And we ended up going out after the World Cup, and just having a really good time and celebrating what has just been an incredible season. The Olympics, the World Cup in Koper, it all just sort of came together, and that night was just a really, really nice one, and basically made the whole of the experience of Koper just completely worth it and way better. I just absolutely love that moment, and it was really fun to celebrate with my coaches. After I'd won the World Cup in Koper, it turned out I checked Instagram and someone had done the calculations. I ended up realizing that I'd won the overall lead season, and that was just a crazy moment just to find out, and part of the reason for all the celebrations. It's always been sort of a long-term goal of mine to take the overall title. I know everyone's focusing on different things, not everyone attended every single competition, but still it means so much to me. I've put in so much work for that, and it's always been a dream of mine to win the overall season. So we ended up going out celebrating into the night, and I think I'll leave it at that and say mistakes were made, but what happens in Koper stays in Koper. For now, the competition season is done. It's been a crazy year, from the boulder season, the lead season, the Olympics, all of these experiences. But right now I'm in Margalef, I'm in complete project mode. I'm psyched to be on some sport routes, and I'm psyched to see what I can get done. But thank you everyone for watching. Catch you in the next one.